What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down what the news is saying about Tesla and what's going on with the next hour as we have Jerome Powell about to give a speech. But before I break anything down all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. The offer ends in 6 days. Check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market. One word to describe the market for now is bearish, as we're seeing SPY tanking. Tesla's tanking very hard. It's down almost 7%, and we're starting to see the bears taking over. One thing I did on this channel was warn everyone that the market could pump a little bit more, but I'm anticipating some downside soon, and that's what's happening so far. But the question is, will this continue, or are we about to see a nice bounce? Well, that will in part be determined by Jerome Powell, depending on what the guy ends up saying. And he's going to be giving a speech very soon at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, in about an hour from now, at the time I'm recording this, Powell is going to be giving a speech. Jerome Powell is going to move the markets. We will see what he ends up saying. This is not just opening remarks or anything very simple. It's going to be at a very important conference in Washington, D.C. And Powell is going to be saying things about monetary policy and economics. So we'll be listening to this guy very carefully. We'll see what he says and how this affects the markets. But when it comes to Tesla, we had three big pieces of news coming out. Number one, Tesla's valuation may be too optimistic in the eyes of HSBC analysts. They're saying that Tesla could see some downside all the way down to $146 per share. That is their target. They're saying there's a 35% downside risk for Tesla. And they're saying that if you look at the current valuation of the company, it's too high. They're saying that Tesla is worth less. They're also saying that the current macros are going to hurt Tesla, especially with these margins, thanks to the high interest rates. So they're saying that there are more costs for Tesla, and Tesla likely has some more downside coming. And we have other analysts that also reduced their price targets on Tesla. Now, there's also this news right here that Tesla's initiating another physical recall. This is not like a software recall, just a physical recall that's going on. This is going to be for 159 Model S and Model X's over an airbag issue. So this is very important because the safety of customers and people is Tesla's priority, and they have to get this fixed as fast as possible. So this was not the best of pieces of news for them. Tesla has to improve and fix this issue as fast as possible, and that's what they're going to be doing. So I just wanted to call that out. It's another negative piece of news. And finally, like I said earlier on today, Tesla has raised the price on many of their refreshed long-range vehicles. They're raising prices in China beginning November 9th, and this was also a negative piece of news for them because, once again, people and investors are concerned about demand issues over there. And if they keep raising prices like this, there's some concerns about Tesla being able to meet their demand targets, meeting their overall deliveries targets. I saw some analysts talking about that earlier too because of this news. So we'll be watching for this as time goes on. But for now, we're going to be watching to see how Tesla's reacting to these very important levels and how it's looking for the time being. So looking at the markets, we're looking more bearish overall. If we look at SPY on the 4-hour time frame, SPY is continuing to sell off. We have a bearish cross in the PPO, and we have a very bearish looking candlestick right here on the 4-hour. We're going to be watching support at 435 at the 20 EMA. It's just barely holding SPY up. But for Tesla, it's looking even more bearish, down over 6.5% almost, and it's looking very bearish. Look at the 4 hours, looking very weak, and we're seeing the bears stepping in. Now we have a head and shoulders like pattern on Tesla, and not only is Tesla kind of like leading the way down, but it's continuing to look weak. On top of this, when you look at the daily time frame, you're going to notice we have this gap down here on Tesla at 205. So it looks like we're about to fill this gap. And I think that Tesla has more downside nonetheless. So yes, I mean, I know it looks very weak right now. Even the daily is turning. We have this gap down here. I think Tesla's going to fill this gap down here and get to the 205s. And I think there's more downside coming, guys. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I warned everyone that if Tesla lost that 212 support, it's going to turn very bearish. That's exactly what happened. You guys got the warning in the morning, and that's what ended up playing out. So we're just going to be a little patient, though, because here's the thing. Even though, we look really bearish, even though the odds favor the downside, I just want to warn you all because we can't promise anything in a market like this. And I personally actually took a lot of profits on my shorts for SPY and also for other tickers. But The reason I did that is because Jerome Powell is about to speak and you never know what's going to happen. I didn't take all profits, though I still have some longer term short positions. But I just want to make it clear, when Powell speaks, you never know what's going to happen. So if you want to hold through his speech, you could. I mean, I don't think it's like extremely risky looking how Tesla looks right now, but there is going to be some risk. So just be very careful. You never know what Jerome Powell could say and what this could cause for the markets. But regardless of Powell, we look very bearish nonetheless. And I think the odds do favor more downside later on, anyways. All right. So I just wanted to be honest. I want to be clear, and I just want to be as I want to be as real as possible. The market's looking weak, and Tesla likely has more downside. Watch 205 as key support. If we lose that, watch 202.5, followed by $200. Tesla looks like it's on the way to at least 205 right now. What about for SPY? Where is SPY headed? Well, it's very simple. Like I showed you guys on the 4-hour time frame, the 20 EMA is holding it up at that 435 area. That's where we have that support, and it's just barely holding this thing, at least for the time being. So 435 is going to be a key support to watch for right here. That's very close to where the 20 EMA happens to be. If we lose that, I anticipate it's going to just continue sinking down to the lows from yesterday. Not to mention the 433s are likely on the table. I believe SPY is eventually going to make its way down over the next week, all the way down to the low 430s. It could take another week, or it could happen much quicker, depending on Powell. But I anticipate more downside. For resistance, watch 436. If we get above that, watch 436.5. So it's like right about here. It's 436.5 area. And if we end up breaking above that, then there's 437 and then 437.5. Now, in my opinion, I think SPY looks relatively weak. We're going to be watching to see if this thing continues to fall, but you could see the market structure is beginning to shift. We need confirmation that we need to see SPY break 435 to turn even more bearish, but I still think that this is going to eventually happen, and the odds favor downside in the future. So watch and see what happens with Jerome Powell giving his speech. We'll see what Powell says, and we'll see how this affects the markets. Get ready for the next hour. For the QQQ, and the same thing is essentially going on. The QQQ is looking weaker. If we look at the QQQ, you will notice that we have this triple bearish divergence. The QQQ just came down towards 371.3, and we're still looking weak. This could be another change in market structure, but we need to see this thing break below 370 to turn a lot more bearish. It's trying to make its way back up, but that doesn't really change my view. I still think that there's downside coming in the future, and I just want to warn you about that. So for resistance, watch this 372.5 area. Watch 373.5, 374, and then 375. And for support, you're going to be watching 372 flat, 371.25, and then 370.5 below that. My guts tells me there's more downside coming. I think that the upside was very limited, and I think that the market's due for a cool off, and I think that we're just getting started. So we'll see what Jerome Powell causes, and we'll just be very patient for then. On Nvidia, this thing continued to rip very, very nicely, pushing all the way up to about this $482 area. That's actually higher than what I was expecting. I was thinking it would go up to about 480 and see some sellers. Instead, it's continuing to hold up quite nicely. So we're going to be watching resistance up to about the last level I checked was 485. So like right here. This is going to be a key resistance, not to mention the high of today, which is the other resistance, 482.5-ish, just around that area. For support, make sure you're watching 480. If we lose that, watch 478. If we lose that, there's 475, followed by 471, then 468. In my opinion, I don't think Nvidia is going to keep pumping and pumping forever. I think that this thing has limited upside. I think that it's going to reject soon. The upside is very limited from here, so just be very careful. And we'll see what Jerome Powell causes for the markets. Last but not least, we have Aapl stock. Looking at Aapl, you can see that Apple's looking relatively weak. If we end up losing 183, I anticipate it's going to come down back to 182, which is where we saw that support from the pre-market. My guts tells me there's some downside coming to Apple soon, but we're not ready yet. It has a triple bearish divergence developing, but Apple has been trying to uptrend little by little. So we're going to be watching this 184 resistance. If we break this, watch 185. I believe somewhere between 184 and 185 is where Apple's top is, whether it has topped or not. And I think that Apple is going to pull back soon. All right, so we want to be very careful. We want to be watching to see how much how well the market tries to hold up. And we're going to be watching this resistance. Look for some downside very soon. And that's pretty much it for now. All right, guys. So thank you all so much for listening. SPY's back at 436, just barely holding up. but it's looking more bearish. Even the daily is starting to turn a bit. Same thing on the QQQ, and same thing on Tesla. The daily is not looking the best for Tesla. It's actually starting to turn. And the daily candlestick, if we do close here or very close to this, it's going to look very ugly. And I still favor more downside soon. All right, guys. So that's what I have for this one. Thank you all again for listening. I know this is not what you want to hear, but it's the truth. This is going to be a pullback that is necessary for the markets. I'm not saying the market's going to crash. It's just a very healthy pullback is coming. And then watch your charts carefully and get ready for Jerome Powell. Powell speaks in just about 42 minutes from the time I'm recording this. So get ready and do what you have to do, guys. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks again, and peace out.